All the biodiesel street cred that anyone else in the room could ask for. He's making his own fuel. He's had his challenges with his plant and so on. So anything that we've hit along the road, he's hit as well and knows his biodiesel cold. But that's irrelevant. The reason that Eric is on the program is because the theme for this year is thinking differently. And that's exactly what Eric has done. He has made a stand in a very tough industry, textiles. His place is very similar to our plant in that you think, well, it's a textile factory. They're sitting here printing shirts. He's got a dye house. He's an industry with factory jobs. And why are there chickens in the yard? Why is there this big vegetable garden? What's this composting operation? What are these solar panels doing here? Why is there a micro turbine in the yard? There's all sorts of renewable energy demonstrated there. And like us, he's got thousands of tourists that visit every year, and sort of industrial tourists that want to see his plant and see the processes that he's invented and the things that he's implemented. So he's really on the other side of the Alamance line, and Eric and I sometimes have a little bit of rivalry. You know, he will sometimes. I kind of kick things off. I have a 2K array in my yard, and then Eric went and built an 8K array and had me bested, and so we had to put in a 100K array down at the plant just to stop the flap. Eric will, when I was making fuel in my backyard, Eric had a sort of a bigger plant than me, and so we have been doing this over the years. So staying ahead of Eric has been a challenge for us at Piedmont. But Eric, why don't you just take it away?
Okay, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. Again, Eric Henry, but I'll have to credit Lyle because this goes back 12, 13 years or whatever. When I first learned about biodiesel, I was out in a conference in Hopland, California. And I was very interested in sustainability, triple bottom line and all that. I learned about biodiesel, went back to this conference, and I bought the first fuel moisture. Okay, claim number one. So I'm one of these people that just learn about it, jump into it. So when I needed my first methanol, I learned about this guy down in Pittsburgh that was doing this. So I went to his house and met him for the first time. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and he gave me my first 5-gallon methanol. And he went on to build this amazing big facility over there, and I've still got my little 100-gallon thing behind our plant that I occasionally make fuel. But along the way, I've got my original car, it's a 2000 Volkswagen Golf that I bought to run biodiesel in, and now I've got 270,000 miles on that car. I bought it with 50,000 miles. So, and then also what I did is I always like to, have plan A and plan B. Well, plan A was to make fuel, but as I said, we'll talk about my day job, which is in the apparel business. So plan B was to have Lyle put one of his retail stations at TS Designs. So there's no shortage or access to biodiesel. We just got to get my wife to use it more than she needs to. So we're working on that part of it. Anyway, I'd like to kind of start off with a question. Who in this room, on this guy here, the first one, can tell me without looking the country of origin your shirt you're wearing from today?
He's got
Yes, sir.
I think Bangladesh.
You think, you're guessing.
I'm guessing.
Okay. Anybody else want to take a shot at it?
You got a guess?
Pretty sure this shirt is an American apparel shirt, so it's made in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Cotton that was either sourced from the Central Valley of California or from Egypt. I think that's where they were getting their stuff for a while.
How old is that shirt?
Pretty old.
Okay. Probably came from Pakistan. You're right on most of it. Yarn probably came from Pakistan. But anyway, good for you. I bet I've asked that question 150 times, maybe 200 times over the years. And I've had maybe 3 or 4 people be answer. That tells you the problem. It's basically, we don't know where our clothes come from today. I gave a TED Talk a couple months ago. My first slide, 98%. And that's not a good 98%. That's the percent of clothes that are now made overseas. We have destroyed the apparel industry in this country. How did we get there? I've been in the apparel industry for over 32, 33 years now. Started while I was in college. As Lyle said, in Burlington, North Carolina. And started off working for the brands, companies you know, Tommy, Nike, Gap, Polo. We're a very successful company, over 100 employees, monthly profits, benefits for our employees, living wages, bonuses. We're just Cadillacing along. 1994, NAFTA. Ask kids in high school today what NAFTA is, and you just get this glazed over look. Blue. North American Free Trade Agreement. Destroyed our business, destroyed textiles in North Carolina, destroyed textiles in this country. Over 35,000 people just in North Carolina lost their jobs. So we can get it cheap. Fast forward to April 2013. Bangladesh. You might know what happened there?
Fire?
Factory collapse?
Yep. Fire was first. That was 800 people. This time we took out 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
A 4-story building that never should have been a 4-story building collapsed. Over 1,000 people died, 2,000 people injured. Worst apparel disaster in history. Everybody says, oh my God, how does that happen? 26 cents an hour, how does that happen? Those people were paid 26 cents an hour so we can have our clothes. Just like we have a broken food system in this country, we've got a broken apparel system. And just like I talked to some folks from Savannah yesterday that came up and we were talking, so I also have a lot of people come to our facility. The only thing that's going to fix it, and it's just like our energy, I'm sure you talk about, is us. It's not going to come from Washington, it's not going to come from Raleigh, it's not going to come from your brains, it's going to come from us demanding change, us demanding accountability. So that's the journey I've been on the last 30 plus years, is basically reconnecting and rebuilding our industry. And it has been a hard as hell road, because just what you have to compete with you do is I'm competing with the big brands. I spoke out in Salt Lake last week, and in the audience you have companies like Timberland and North Face and King Shoes and on and on and on. What happens, the industry, the apparel industry has made so much money by moving overseas. And now they're having this push, consumers, I want to make something made here. Whether, when you go from, and again, I'll say that 26 cents is an anomaly. That's slave labor rates. Typically, a lot of t-shirts we wear in this area are going to come out of Honduras. Central America, you're looking at about $2 an hour all in. So still a tremendous price disparity. So when our business got destroyed in the mid-90s, we wanted to stay in the apparel business. We wanted to stay in Burlington. But every chamber of commerce, every economic advisor, every business school said apparel is dead. You either go out of business or you get an overseas partner. But there's no business solution or business model, I should say, for domestic apparel business. It's dead. So we said, no, we're going to try this. So, we have been swimming upstream since the mid-90s. And so that is when we changed our business to look at the business run on a triple bottom line, which we all talk about: sustainability, people, planet, profit. You talk about that in the mid-90s, but it's glazed over look. They looked at our product and says, "It's more expensive. Why am I going to buy your product when I buy a cheaper product?" So as I said, we changed our vision to triple bottom line. We changed our vision to making the highest quality, most sustainable printed apparel. And as I said, the journey I've been on since the late 90s. We changed how t-shirts are printed. If you come to TS Designs, you're just going to see a lot of white t-shirts. We're the only ones in the industry we print the garment dye. The reason we do that, we want to eliminate that plastic film you have on your t-shirt, which is called plastisol ink, which contains PVCs and phthalates. So we did that probably about 12 years ago. And then the most exciting thing that we started 5 years ago, which I think we're becoming a lot more known for than TS Designs, is cotton and Carolinas. 5 years ago, I went to Ronnie Burleson in New London, North Carolina, cotton farmer, third generation. "Ronnie, I want to buy your cotton." Ronnie looked at me and says, "Why in the heck does a guy that makes t-shirts in Burlington, North Carolina want to buy cotton from me? Because you got all these brands from Gildan to Hanes to Fruit of the Loom. I mean, why do you want to mess with my cotton? The industry was not, it evolved to the point we put everybody in silos. You grow the cotton, you gin the cotton, you spin the cotton, you knit the cotton, and basically it's all driven by price and quality. So I said, no, I want to buy your cotton line. So the first year we bought, I think, 7,000 pounds of this cotton. And working with a good friend of mine, Sam Moore, we developed what we call Cotton Carolinas, which really defines a supply chain than it does a brand. So what we do is we take that cotton, and the reason we did that, and I was telling those folks in Savannah yesterday, is we felt like we have to have skin in the game. I could ask these people to do these things for me, and they could make them for me, but we own the cotton. I don't grow the cotton, but I bought the cotton. It's my cotton. I can do what I want to with it. I can throw it away. I can ship it to China. Do whatever I want to with it. So we buy this cotton, and then we form the Cotton Carolina supply chain. So we basically have Ronnie as the grower, Wes as a ginner, Mark as a spinner, Alex as the knitter, Stacy as the finisher, then we got multiple cut and sew operations, and then it comes to TS Designs. And as we like to say, we go dirt to shirt, we do it in 600 miles, we impact 500 jobs. And what I think is the most important thing that we do it in a completely transparent supply chain. We're the only t-shirt that I know of that connects the consumer to the farmer. What I think is the biggest challenge we have today in American society is a lack of transparency. We don't have it in our political system, we don't have it in our energy system, we don't have it in our food system. If we could just have transparency, demand transparency, that would solve a lot of questions and problems and needs for regulation. Because even if you had a product, as you just said there, American Apparel in LA, it gets really, really fuzzy what happens after that point. And you can buy product that says Made USA, and that's good. But there's no transparency. That could be Made in USA in the way the rules and regulations, nothing wrong with it. It's got to be made in this country. But that could be cotton or fabric from China. There's no transparency to that supply chain. So that is the thing that we on the onset of lines we want to do is have that transparency of supply chain. Because we think, we're not perfect. This Cotton Carolinas is overwhelmingly conventional GMO cotton. 3 years ago, was it 4 years ago, Carol? 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
2012.
We did grow the first certified organic cotton in North Carolina. And that is one of our long-term visions of Cotton Carolina. But it's hard as hell to grow organic cotton in North Carolina. With Carol's help, we basically, the 2 years that we have grown it, we have financed that with slow money. The reason we did that is, first of all, we couldn't get normal financing for it in the first place. It takes too long, won't too much. And again, it builds what we want. We wanted that connection and transparency. It's local cotton, it's lose local money to do that. So we continue 2013, our organic crop was a total loss. 2014, this year, we're basically in a holding pattern. We have got to pretty much work with some bigger heads that develop. Weeds are the issue, so we got to look at some cover crops. We're going to be announcing a new brand in the fall called American Soil Organic that will basically be using Texas organic cotton because they have a more consistent ability to grow cotton every year. We will bring that cotton to North Carolina, and then we'll do all the manufacturing. So our transportation footprint will swell up a little bit. We have another brand similar to your shirt there, which we call TSD Organic. That uses certified organic cotton yarn from Pakistan. That's where American Apparel gets it now. Everybody gets that particular weight of cotton from Pakistan because of the fiber length and the weight of the fabric cannot grow in the States as of now. But we're in the process now, if all goes well, we're basically going to bring that yarn to North Carolina, and we're going to produce that with a little bit different supply chain. We're actually doing the cutting in Burlington, where I am, the original Burlington industry plant where textiles started in 1923. We did our first cutting there 2 weeks ago. And the sewing is done in another facility in Greensboro called Industry of the Line. So actually, believe it or not, you can sew t-shirts. I mean, with people that have visual handicaps. I mean, not everybody does, but so again, what we want to bring that transportation footprint down, and what we like to say, we want to make it where we sell it. You know, as I was telling people when I was in Salt Lake the other week, there's a big, as I look across this room here, and I think if we did go look at your labels, most of the product in this room is made overseas. So the way I look at that is a tremendous upside opportunity. I do not have to go all around the world to sell my product. I just got to sell more of my product here. So if I'm going to sell it here, it's no different than what's happening with the local food movement. That's what we really watch and emulate. You know, we have a broken food system. People know where food comes from. We are fortunate in North Carolina we grow great cotton here. The last number I saw, we take about 80% of that cotton and we ship it overseas. The typical t-shirt today can travel 13,000, 15,000 miles before we get it. I mean, it's an unsustainable model. But we're in that paradox, and again, it's no different what you're fighting with this industry here. We're not seeing all the cost. We're pushing it off somewhere else or pushing it off to future generations. So again, it's what excites me is, and why I run across this guy a lot here, to me, it's all about reconnecting and rebuilding communities. And that's, you know, because why in the heck do you bang your head against the wall every day? So you turn and find out where the shirt's from, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not wearing an American garment.
Yeah.
Trading out synthetic fiber from Bangladesh for American cotton.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You feel good this morning, don't you? But no, I mean, it's an exciting time you know, to be in this area. It's an exciting time to be in business, but it's all about rebuilding and reconnecting. I've lived in Alamance County for over 53 years now, and I remember what it used to be. And you know, the downtowns and the businesses, it was all community driven. And we got so tied up and cheap and so tied up and running around the world, we destroyed our communities. But now I see it, you know, people are realizing that. And they're starting to reconnect and rebuild. And again, that's what drives us every day. One last thing, and I'm going to open up to questions here that, you know, is again, I like to look at sustainability being this journey, not destination. And one thing that's, you know, as I talked about earlier, 98%, you know, in my lifetime, it's not all going to come back, but I'm hoping that I'll be in industry and on this planet long enough that I'll see a good bit of it come back. That excites me. The next thing, and you got a very big advocate in this community, Linda Booker, who did a documentary called Bring It Home. We need to bring hemp back to this country. We need to let our farmers grow hemp. There's a big movement afoot to do that with the last farm bill. There's states pushing it. We got to decouple marijuana from hemp. As I said, it's bad laws based on bad science. We're one of the few industrialized countries that allow it. Hemp would just take us to the next level from a standpoint of environmental impact. It's just wheat. You can grow hemp from Florida to North Dakota. Cotton you can't do that with. Hemp has a lot more benefits beyond textile fibers. It's a food product, it's a building product. So it's a lot more uses for it. So I'm hoping there's a movement to bring that back because that's a thing that would really enhance and make, again, Zoom height. Expand, you know, textiles in this country and give us a more sustainable product. So we continue to move forward, and that's my quick spiel. So I don't think I put anybody to sleep. So now, questions, concerns, thoughts? Yes, sir.
What has been done to try to get Wayne tobacco farmers off tobacco and onto other products, other cotton or hemp? You know? Because tobacco's, what I understand, it's taking a back seat now in.
No, it's come back big. Come back big, there's big overseas market.
Overseas, what I'm talking about here.
So they're growing.
Well, I mean, there is, I don't know the exact numbers, there is less tobacco grown here, and that's mainly because they took all the subsidies away from it. So there's a lot less people growing tobacco. I mean, you're right, it has chance from a U.S. market to an international market. Basically, we're pushing cigarettes into a third world country now. Yeah, I mean, I think tobacco's on its way down, and again, the whole thing with hemp is, hemp is not going to be the savior of all agriculture crops and save all our farmers, but it is an option that we need to allow our farmers to have, and the marketplace will take it from there. Right now, we do not allow our farmers to grow it, but it's the crazy shit, excuse it, this early morning we deal with. We won't let our farmers grow it, but we'll let, you can go right ahead and have a company, a chattel marketplace co-op, and you can buy all kinds of hemp-related food coming out of Canada. Wait a minute, this is so bad, then why are we letting them bring all this product here? We could be producing that product here in North Carolina and not going, because most of that food product we'll see is coming out of Canada. It's just, it's crazy. Did that answer your question?
Those crazy Canadians.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Well, the Canadians are doing now what we did during Prohibition. A lot of Canada's wealth was based on smuggling alcohol in the United States. You look at the great Canadian families to this day, the Seagrams and the Bronfmans and so on and so forth, they all go back to servicing a thirsty American public. And so now they're doing the same thing with hemp. That's kind of what Canada does. So as soon as you change that law, then away we go.
Yeah.
So over in Burlington, you also started a food co-op.
Yep.
And you're now in the process of building a cooperative brewery. And your downtown Burlington is enjoying a renaissance because of that food co-op.
Pretty much so.
So we've got Chatham Marketplace here, which is small. We're a much smaller town, 4,000 people. Burlington, 50,000, so they're 10 times our size. Their food co-op is booming. Is it in black ink?
Yep.
It's got black ink, which we don't have yet. Let's see. The distillery kind of fits into this. The distillery at the plant that many of you have toured, maybe sampled some of the products, fits into this in a way, in the sense that we have product coming off the line, we get it on the shelf over at Eric's Food Co-op, we go over and pour a tasting at the food co-op, and Eric stops by and has all of his friends,
Did you sell a case last week?
So a case and a half at company shops, exactly right. And so these interconnected, so he's got his own community over there. It's a little tiny microcosm of the 50,000 people. But he's got his friends that believe in his project, and he's got the momentum going. And we've got our little thing over here. There's 50,000 people in Chatham County, and many of them have never been to Piedmont Biofuels. So we got our own little thing. And so our COG can sometimes fit in with your COG. I haven't bought my membership in the beer co-op, but that's on my list.
Okay.
How many members have you sold so far?
Right under 600.
You're at 600, and how many do you need to break ground?
The way we took and again, following this guy here, he's first in biodiesel, I'm second in biodiesel. He's first to start a co-op grocery store, I'm the second to start a co-op grocery store. So I'm always following behind him. But the model that we use for company shops, it's the same model we're following for Burlington Beer Works, which is going to be a brew on premise / restaurant for downtown Burlington. And we're doing that for a couple reasons. Because I remember what our downtown Burlington used to be like. So this is revitalize our downtown, connect to our local community, keep the dollars in our community. But the model that we use, we're at 600, and hopefully we attract a few angel investors in our community, and that's what we're hoping to do with Burlington Beer Works. The next thing is we got to buy a building, and hopefully that could happen here in the next 6 months. And then once some people have to see brick and mortar before they get on board.
How much is a membership?
I think Burlington Beer Works is $100.
Got it. So you've raised 66 grand.
Yeah, 6
grand.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's $100,000. $60,000.
60,000. So you've raised 60,000 in membership so far,
Right.
and then you need an angel to step in, and then you.
Yeah, because we're looking at a building that's probably going to be $250,000, $300,000, well, you can go buy that with it, you know. And again, the way co-ops, as you know, a bank's not going to loan
Right.
this group of people that money, so you need that investor to step up, and then we can use the building as collateral. Blah, 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 blah.
So I don't want to steal from your presentation, Carol, but one year when the cotton was coming off the ground, Eric needed $30,000 fast. And he came over to the plant kitchen and remember the day that he summoned Carol, who's next on the lineup here. It was slow money, but a group of us gathered around and it's like, oh my God, we need $30,000 fast. And we came up with $30,000 fast. So what we did is we lent the money to Eric so that he could keep the farmers. And so at one point there, and I went in on that one, and so did my brother Glenn. At one point, I guess I had a stake in a tons and tons of cotton in a warehouse somewhere.
Right.
And then as the cotton got drawn down and turned into shirts and turned into money, I got all my money paid back. And Raleigh Denim bought some of that cotton. So I went down to Raleigh Denim and bought a pair of blue jeans. And basically, when I'm on stage, I can say that I helped finance these pants.
And what's so cool?
Are they shorts?
They're not.
So you don't wear them very often?
Well, and
I'll say that.
I was on stage
They're
in New York
expensive.
City.
Yeah.
I was on stage with
Like you were
in New
close.
York City with this guy because he wrote a chapter in my last book, Small Stories, and gosh, I get all this. He suddenly gets up and it's like, I'm sitting here in Bangladesh. I'm exactly like you. I'm right after he goes on, I go on in my like faraway garb, and I came home and was like, that's not happening. I went down to Raleigh Denim. I went and I got we got a sock company up in Mount Airy that Eric introduced me to. They do farm to feet.
Yep.
So I bought my farm to feet, and I got my. When are you coming out with a men's dress shirt? Something what to call it.
It's in the works. But I mean, the problem we have with that is that, you know, when textiles left, not only we lost the skill set, but we lost the infrastructure, we lost the equipment. I mean, we're having to kind of build back from ground zero. And what happened is that as the industry declined, you know, it got to the point it basically bottomed out in t-shirts because this is the
lowest common denominator.
right, and this is now labor. So we started building back in t-shirts. So most of the infrastructure for the shirts like you have on just doesn't exist. You know, you can make the fabric pretty easy in North Carolina, but the equipment, the skill set to put the buttons in the collars and stuff like that is just now. And hopefully that'll be part of what we'll be doing in Burlington here in the next couple of years.
Okay, now Lumina's doing it.
Yes.
And they're doing that in South Carolina?
Yes.
And I went and bought a Lumina shirt because I was trying to get my 100-mile closet going on so that I wouldn't be upstaged by this guy. Next time I go on stage with Eric Henry, I was committed to being like local wardrobe. I don't like my Lumina shirt. I don't like the way it, what it's cut.
It's kind of form-fitting, you know. You're an older guy, so like a little more relaxed. It's kind of tight-fitting, so.
Is that your way of saying I'm fat?
No, we're just kind of out of style. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Well, I was going to ask, you said the infrastructure for manufacturing is gone by the wayside. What about the farming, the cotton farms? I mean, what's happened to those?
Oh, the interesting thing, and I was telling people from Savannah, if you look at the supply chain to make apparel, you've got the grower, the ginner, spinner, knitter, finisher, cut sew. But when you go grower, ginner, spinner, they haven't missed a beat because during this whole globalization, we grow great cotton in North Carolina. We just basically said we'll keep it here in North Carolina, which we did pre-NAFTA. We just ship it to China, Bangladesh, whatever. Because you know, I assure you, and again, transparency, I can't pinpoint it. I assure you, some of the cotton that was used in that facility in Bangladesh came from North Carolina because we grow good cotton. So what has happened, and so interesting in this industry 30 years, is while we were just getting pummeled by NAFTA. I mean, I went from 100 employees to 14 employees in 2 years. I went a couple years out of paycheck. I mean, we got our butts handed to us. Cotton growers kept on growing. So if you go down to like Ronnie Burleson, who does 3,000 acres down here around Asheboro, I mean, he's got state-of-the-art equipment. He's got this new thing from John Deere that instead of having 3 pieces of equipment, he goes out and field with 1 piece, and it only harvests it, packages it, it wraps it, puts a barcode of ginner that is sitting out in field X and is ready to be picked up. Same thing, the ginning operation. The ginning operation, also in New London, is world-renowned, state-of-the-art technology. I mean, they have put millions and millions and millions of dollars in this facility. And then spinning, we have Parkdale and Frontier, who are the two of the biggest in the world, are basically headquarters here in North Carolina. So those folks didn't miss a beat. But then once you leave spinning, it was a bloodbath. I mean, you know, it's like there was a firewall there. These people over here just rocked it. And the reason that was, as soon as you leave spinning, that's when labor starts hitting. Even, I mean, our t-shirts are sewn with the latest equipment, whatever, but it still takes a lot of these. And a lot of these are 26 cents or $2, whatever, 15 so. But the good thing, and I'll get you one second to finish up that, is that one thing I will say about North Carolina, we have more infrastructure still in place, to my knowledge, of any place in the country. You know, we do have enough things. We could make a shirt like that. We can make the fabric of that. So from a starting point, we're probably the best position. Just go back to like Texas. Texas grows a lot more cotton. That's where we're getting organic. It has zero infrastructure. I mean, that will basically come from the gin. Their cotton goes to North Carolina because they've lost all their infrastructure. So we have, you know, that's what I was telling our last governor, while we run around the world trying to find jobs to come to our states, we just got to reconnect the opportunities we have. Because when you look across the room, I think investment in clothes is a good investment for the long term. Because I think we're going to probably wear them a little bit longer. So all we got to do is reconnect the dots. Yes.
I was just gonna. First of all, I'm sorry for coming in late.
No problem. You'll fail the test. Go ahead.
That's something I'm used to.
Okay.
You said spinning. That's turning cotton to thread.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And then
Yarn. Yes.
Yarn. And then it's
It takes a full yarn and you knit it in fabric.
Right. Right. And that happens here in North Carolina.
Yes.
Okay. Just definition clarification. I'm sorry.
Yep, we do it, and we do it now. We call it, you know, again, cotton of the Carolinas, and we did that originally because we thought we'd be working with multiple cotton growers.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't happened yet. Although I'm going to South Carolina next week about a little bit of cotton.
Yeah.
Mainly, it's more on the, and I should talk. I think the shirt's so old. We basically have a new system now. We use multiple manufacturers in South Carolina, but what we've done, we've developed a new system where we use a colored thread on the inside of the shirt, and you basically go to cottonandcarolinas.com, you say, okay, I got yellow here and blue here. It's on the inside, you can't see it. But when you basically point out those two colors, then it will point you to a Google map. Wow. And of that Google map, it connects you with all those people. And along the way, and I should have mentioned this earlier, what we do, back to complete transparency, we give you point of contact along the way. We give you farmer in general, we give you a picture, a phone number, a physical address, and an email of everybody along the supply chain. So you, the consumer, can call Ronnie Burleson, you can call Wes, you can go see him, or you can go email him. Again, I don't know anybody else that has that complete transparency. Again, it's not a perfect system. I think it beats the heck everything else that's out there. But when you start out, we used to have a tracking number. And we've evolved to the thing because now we have multiple cut and sew places because we make different styles and things like that. People do things better than other things and things like that. So
when you say cut and sew, that's again just a definition clarification.
Yeah.
That's once it's made in a whole cloth, then it goes to another location here in North Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah. And
we do all. We
exactly that.
We go, and I'll repeat for you since you were late for class today. But, so this will be on the test.
That's right. Don't hit it too hard. Don't hit it too hard.
You know, we go from the raw cotton to the finished T-shirt in 600 miles.
Wow.
A typical T-shirt's about 13,000 miles.
And repeat the steps.
You grow it, you gin it gets the seed out. Then you spin it, it puts it on the cones of yarn. Then you knit it to the fabric. Then the fabric is basically these tubes of fabric, and they cut it out, and then they sew it to the T-shirt. And then comes to our place, and where we print the design on it, and we dye the color.
You mentioned the finishing step in between weaving and
Yes.
cutting sewing. What's that finishing step briefly?
What happens is once it comes off the knitting machines, it's going to have knitting oils and stuff like that on it. We have to clean the fabric off, and then what they do is then they run it through equipment that does that, but then they stabilize the fabric, and then what it does, it comes out in these nice, neat rolls of fabric. So it's a cleaning and stabilization of fabric before you go to sewing. So that way what happens is when you sew the shirt, or mainly when you wash the shirt the first time, you don't get real crazy shrinkage. Because the knitting is not it's not an exact science, but there can be tensions as it knitted together. So if you didn't go to the finishing process, and the fabric will go real funky once you wash it the first time, or in our case, we've learned.
So it gets that before it actually gets on the roll.
Yes, it basically goes from knitting to finishing, and which is basically stabilizing the fabric.
Yeah.
Then to cut and sew, print dye. That's Miss Carol Hewitt.
So, how are you doing? Are you hopeful? Are you going to make it? Do you think this is actually viable? What do you think? We're going to have apparel back here? You're going to survive?
It gives me goosebumps. No, because
I noticed
if you ask me
you're having a hard time buying razors, but other than that,
I shave once a week unless my wife tells me otherwise. If you asked me that 2 years ago, it was a struggle. It was a struggle because not that we couldn't do it, it's people didn't understand the value proposition. Well, I said they understand the real cost of cheap. I tell people today, I've not seen as much interest in Made in USA product today than when it left in the mid-90s. We can't get it out the door quick enough. Our biggest problem right now is getting the raw product made. You know, we bought our 70,000 pounds, and I should put this earlier. Last year we bought 70,000 pounds of cotton, roughly makes 150,000 t-shirts. And that's supposed to get us through this fall when we buy it again, i.e. through December. And that's why I go to South Carolina next week, because we've already sold that cotton out. You know, our biggest challenge right now is getting it made. And again,
feedstocks.
exactly. So I mean, to go from raw cotton to a finished t-shirt, you're looking at maybe 3 to 4 months, you know, because everybody has, you know, equipment broke down, and truck broke down, and so-and-so took the week off, and you know, you're dealing with multiple people. But a couple of, you know, and I don't know, what's my time on today?
You've got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Can I just
Okay.
interject?
Yes.
First of all, you got a question. You go first.
Oh,
Yeah.
so when my company was looking to print up t-shirts, we're based out of Maine, so we're, you know, looking at the local options there. And everyone does the, you know, nasty plastic
Right.
lump. And our logo is 4 colors, so we end up with a very, very thick, nasty plastic lump. And so we were looking into water-based stuff, and there's like Liberty Graphics, folks like that, but you sort of seem to be the gold standard in water-based printing. How does your printing work? I know there's probably like a lot of trade secrets there,
There's no serious design. Real quick, the way it works, and that's one of the first things we did coming out of NAFTA, once we realized we're not going to be a low-cost producer, and said we got to make the highest quality, most sustainable. We went right after plastisol, because that's how shirts were printed then, how they're printed today, what plastisol does. The problem too with even the water-based inks, it leaves this. Everybody doesn't like the feel.
Yeah,
so I had a good friend. Matter of fact, you know very well. You both know Sam Moore very well. One of the early adopters, first introduced me to the idea of sustainability. As a master in chemistry, I went to Sam and says, "How can we do this differently?" We developed and then later patented the Rehance process, and essentially what we do is, like on my shirt here, the white, we just basically block dye sites.
Okay.
We basically changed the way that cotton is going to look. When this shirt was white, we printed this and then dyed it. Again, this is 4 or 5 years old, this color here. So basically when the dye hits it, it bounces off instead of goes into it. So we just completely changed the way t-shirts are. The problem the industry's had with it, it is a more complicated way to do it. It does take longer time to get it because I just can't pull a shirt off the shelf and print it and send it to you. But the end result is a higher quality, more sustainable t-shirt than you'll find in the marketplace.
We ended up going with a local producer, and I think he did something very similar to that, but his shirts were already dyed.
He used a thing called discharge printing.
I think that's what it was.
The problem with discharge printing is a product called zinc formaldehyde sulfoxylate. It's a chemical, if you maintain it in a very controlled environment, it's okay. But if you do not control it, i.e. they really recommend washing the shirt after you have it, it can cause all kinds of problems. So it'll get the similar results to this, and I'm familiar with that process. It just has some very negative connotation to not use and maintain properly.
Have you licensed your Behance process to other companies?
We have tried twice, once in Canada, once on the West Coast, failed horribly both times. Because the way our industry is set up is you have people that screen print and people that garment dye. They're two different businesses. We now garment dye. We have our own garment dye facility because if you cannot maintain both of those, they're both very critical. And the problem we had, but we worked with the screen printer, the garment dye in color gray, killing the print because he wouldn't follow our process. So we're always open to licensing, but somebody's got to make a commitment to both the print and the garment dye side. So now it raises their initial investment to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nobody wants to make that investment. Okay, real quick.
I wanted to ask about the tracking features of this T-shirt. Can I tell where the cotton was grown, where it was, et cetera, in the process?
Well, that is our TSD organic. So that would be yarn from certified organic yarn from Pakistan, and all the manufacturing is done in the USA. So it's not. It doesn't have the tracking map of cotton in Carolinas because it moves around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we offer that because there's some people that are just hell-bent on organic.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah.
that. And it gives it a lighter weight feel, and there's some benefits to it. But I mean, our flagship product is Cotton in Carolinas because mainly everybody is connected. It's local. I'll finish with one story and then I'll wrap this thing up and tell you the value of what we're doing here. The second year we had Cotton in Carolina, cotton prices went from, I don't know the exact number, like 70 cents a pound to $2 a pound. So the cotton farmers were loving it, man. $2 a pound, man, I'm gonna knock it out of the park here. I called Ronnie. I said, Ronnie, $2 a pound, we're out of business. I said, we're just, we're a little bitty. I mean, this guy does 3,000 acres, and that year we might have been buying 15,000 pounds. I said, we're just out of business, I can't do it. And so Ronnie came back, and again, I don't remember the exact number, said, okay, well, $1.25. So he sacrificed 75 cents a pound, because I said, that's where our break point was to keep going. Sure enough, the next year cotton prices crashed down the other side. I gave Ronnie more money back because it's all about relationships. Screw the commodity marketplace. Let's all work together to make money and that's transparent.
I was just going to ask you, you mentioned the due to lack of infrastructure between the farmer getting the product out and then the finished product. Did they start hurting the way that manufacturing was hurting in the 90s whenever everything left? Did they see a fall in their prices?
No. I mean, the cotton is a commodity traded product on Chicago, whatever, so it dips it down. But overall, the cotton farmer, the ginner, and the spinner have been making money consistently during this whole, because the bottom line, we grow good cotton in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So the only thing changed is we would have taken that yarn instead of ending up in a facility down in Chatham County or Alamance County to make clothes. We said, we're going to go ship this stuff to Bangladesh now. Right. So basically, we focused on price, we screwed our communities, and basically put the money in a few people's hands. But basically, we saw our community just get, especially this area. I don't know who's you're from Maine, but Lyle knows it's Carolinas. I mean, and again, somebody's lived here for 50 years.
I'm from Central Louisiana, and cotton's king.
Yeah.
In Central Louisiana. In fact, one of my college roommates, is inheriting his, don't laugh, Boone Farms from his father. And they, it's 2,000 acres of cotton. That's just what they do.
Yeah.
In Industrial Evolution, the book that you got when you registered, there's a section in there about our abandoned mills. And you can read about Saxapaw abandoned mill, go down the river to Bynum's abandoned mill, come down to Pittsburgh's abandoned mill, and what the role of those mills have been in our community so far. That is, they become condominiums or die. But your mills are starting to return to textiles. That's what I'm hearing. And so that's fantastic.
And hopefully one day we'll be all right about that.
Talk to this guy.
See? I said, somebody will be all right about this story here. I gotta get past this little thing going on here, then we move on.
I'm currently writing a book with Bob about biodiesel, and I'm currently under contract to write a book with Eric about textiles, and I refuse to start textiles until Bob does his. Come on, Bob!
You're holding up progress, Bob.
I know. Bump, that sounds like bump pass to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Bob, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
Thank you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, if I can get on stage and call me a dick, I can say
You might sound like you a dick. But before you tell that story.
I just tried to drive traffic in.
And it's been several U.S. states have made growing industrial hemp legal already.
Yes.
So I'm wondering why you don't jump a little more aggressively onto it.
This is the only one that really.
Real simple, because the infrastructure takes its I'm saying it's a fiber. You're here. There's no way you're gonna make that investment in equipment, and as soon as you take your product across state lines, it becomes very, very